president of the collectivité, asking for the immediate lifting of the new travel restrictions. Milton Peters being featured in our Black History series, and Prime Minister of St. Martin addresses the National Draft Ordinance in Parliament. Those are the headlines for Thursday, February the 4th, 2021. Good evening, viewers. This is SXM Daily News, and I'm Valerie from Twitter. Thank you so much for joining me this evening. And as usual, we have a full newscast for you, so let's get started. In our first story, the House of Parliament resumed their public meeting, which was adjourned on Tuesday, February the 2nd. The Minister of General Affairs and the Minister of Finance was in attendance to discuss the temporary national ordinance on the amendment of the employment conditions of political authorities. The Honourable Prime Minister, Sylvia Jacobs, while making her presentation to Parliament, spoke about the National Draft Ordinance and said that she hopes and prays that we can become much more resilient than is expected. But in the end, it is a temporary ordinance and it is of a temporary nature.
And we are down to it affecting the salary of possibly one civil servant. Suffice it to say that we pray and hope that we can become much more resilient faster than we expected. We looked at numbers in terms of projection on where our economy will be, and this could go into 2022. We hope not. We hope that and pray that with positive thought, actions by the government as well as all the people of St. Martin, in the role that we have to play, that we can get there faster than we had planned. But in the end, this is a temporary ordinance, and it is of a temporary nature because we have resolved that, of course, we will continue to allow our students, our civil servants, to be able to go back to receiving the necessary increments, etc., the indexation, and the other benefits that they have lost in the process. Of course, we will continue to evaluate how we are hiring, what we are doing, and our salary scales in general, as I mentioned earlier during the handling of the previous agenda point, as HR reform is part of the responsibility of General Affairs. In doing that, we will also, of course, bring forth certain proposals to members of Parliament and the ministers regarding their salaries as well. But in the end, Madam Chair, members of Parliament, today before you is a piece of legislation nobody wanted. And I agree with the previous handling that it is being forced. However, prior to these conditions being forced on us, and Minister of Finance can go into more details, seeing the realities of the finances that we were in, we would have had to cut somewhere, just like every other business on St. Martin in the world, whereby economic downturn is a fact of life. And when as a household, we have to tighten our belts, then we tighten our belts, and we do it out a lot. And as a country, and as an individual, I could say I was prepared to go the long haul. But at the end of the day, what I am prepared to do, I cannot ask 1,667 persons to do, to sacrifice their income in order to take care of their families, to be able to fight a cause that is deep in the souls of the people of St. Martin. The feeling of being downtrodden, Madam Chair Lady, the feeling of being taken advantage of. So that's why we collectively, as representatives of the people, at every level as possible, must take the necessary steps.
Meanwhile, independent member of Parliament Christophe Emmanuel in his presentation said that government has no plan. What do they have to do to put things in place? What government has done is trample on people's rights. This government has lost its physical, mental, moral qualities, which one would consider normal or desirable.
What does it have to do, Madam Chair, with putting things in place? What this government has done, Madam Chair, is trample on the basic right of the people and the citizens in this country. It is your money, and you deserve it now. Madam Chair, this government has lost their physical, mental, moral qualities, which one would consider normal or desirable, showing evidence of decline, Madam Chair. They have no plan, nothing, but simply to cut you down. The only plan this government has shown thus far is this, Madam Chair. That's all they have shown. That's their only plan. That's their only plan. Which
if you do not have the type of bread you like in your house, eat crackers. If you do not have bread, eat cereal, eat oats, sardines. You support?
That's their only plan, Madam Chair Lady, thus far, for what we are going through here today. They haven't presented nothing than simply saying, this is what Holland wants you to do. This is what State Secretary Knops wants. Absolutely no plan. Madam Chair Lady, but just because you have lost me as a friend doesn't mean you have gained an enemy. Madam Chair Lady, I'm bigger than that. I want you to eat as well, just not at my table. Madam Chair, because what this government is doing is trampling on the basic rights. People have worked hard to reach a level of certain benefits in this society. And with a stroke of a pen, Madam Chair Lady, it's all taken away. Madam Chair, the speeches and the empty promises, because of their action, Madam Chair, it doesn't suit what they're saying.
And as we continue now to honor our local heroes for Black History Month, today we will feature Milton Peters, taken from Kenneth Cook's book, The Politicians Who Made a Difference, 50 Movers and Shakers. Many people are familiar with the Milton Peters College in South Reward. However, many voters on St. Martin do not know the man after whom the school was named. Milton Peters was born on St. Martin in 1891 in the village of Coal Bay. In 1929, he left his homeland for Aruba, where he worked at the Lago Oil Refinery. In 1952, he returned to St. Martin and later ran in the Island Council elections as a Democratic Party member. He served as an island councillor from 1955 to 1971. According to the authors of Know Your Political History, Edgar and Julian Lynch, Milton Peters was the longest-serving island councillor and commissioner. During most of his term, Mr. Peters served as Commissioner of Education. While on Aruba, Milton Peters founded the Windward Islands Association, and according to reports, he got involved in politics to help the poor. It was Mr. Peters who said that one day Coal Bay will be the capital of St. Martin. Milton Peters made a difference by making sure that teachers were taught properly. He also ensured that Dutch was used as a language of instruction in schools on St. Martin because he was convinced that St. Martiners could not remain as part of the kingdom if St. Martin could not speak Dutch. Mr. Peters made this observation from a personal experience when Queen Juliana visited St. Martin and he was unable to converse with her in Dutch. He was also instrumental for many students securing scholarships to study overseas. Additionally, Mr. Peters influenced the decision to make the Leonard Connors students advance up to grade 4 and were then transferred to the Oranjes School. Under Mr. Peters' leadership, grades 5 and 6 were added to the Leonard Connors School. In 1985, Mr. Milton Peters took his last breath and passed away at the age of 94. And still to come, Minister of Health expounds further on the vaccination rollout. I'll have the details to that story and more when SXM Daily News returns.
Hi, I'm Switch.
And I'm Save.
And together we're here
to tell you about WIB, Switch, and Save Mortgage Offer.
Now at WIB, you can save and benefit from great specials when you decide
to bring your mortgage to WIB.
When you switch, WIB will offer you
payment of penalty fees up to 3 months interest,
payment of notary fees,
waive of bank closing fees,
and also the lowest interest rate.
Plus, you'll have the chance to win back 1 year of interest payment.
Visit any of WIB's mortgage specialists and benefit from WIB's Switch and
Hey, that's my part. And Save Mortgage Offer.
WIB, your partner in progress.
Welcome back, viewers. You're watching SXM Daily News, and I'm Valerie Van Putten. As we continue now, in other news, these two items taken from the police blotter, the detectives of the Special Robbery Unit are investigating a robbery that took place on Tuesday, February the 2nd, 2021, about 4:20 p.m. in the vicinity of Sucker Garden. According to information obtained from the victim, he was approached by two young men who requested him to drive them to Middle Region. On the way to Middle Region, one of the men brandished a handgun and forced the victim to drive them to the junction of Middle Region Road and Sucker Garden Road. At that location, the victim was robbed of his money and forced to get out of his car. After robbing the victim, the suspects drove away with his car, a blue Daihatsu with the number plate M10543, in the direction of Middle Region. Later in the afternoon, the blue Daihatsu was located next to the basketball court in Dutch Quarter. The vehicle was confiscated for further investigation and taken to the Phillipsburg police station. The detectives investigating this armed robbery case are asking anyone who has information to please contact the St. Martin Police Force at 1-721-542-2222, extension 204 or 205, or the anonymous tip line at 9300. You can also visit the website at www.policesxm.sx or leave a message via their Facebook page, which is Police Force of St. Martin, Corps Politie St. Martin. And then on Tuesday evening, February the 2nd, at about 7 p.m., the Central Dispatch received a call that the mental patient, L, who was reported missing by his family, had been spotted in the vicinity of the Fresh Pond. Central Dispatch directed several patrols to the location to assist the patient who was ill-treated a few days earlier. It turned out that L had an old gash on the back of his head and probably a broken rib. After consultation with the staff of Mental Health Foundation, he was transferred to the St. Martin Medical Center for treatment. This investigation into the ill treatment of L is still ongoing. And as we turn now to other news, Minister of Public Health, Labor and Social Affairs, the Honorable Richard Pandeflek, fielding a question regarding the vaccinating of non-residents and the vaccination plan, the minister expounded further about who will get vaccinated and who will be the first to get vaccinated.
If non-residents means people that are visiting the island as tourists and so, no, they will have to get vaccination in their country of residency. Besides that, everybody, let me explain it. When I say everybody, everybody that has St. Martin as its home, that are residing in St. Martin, will be vaccinated, with one exception. Actually, two. Right now, if you're under 18, you will not be vaccinated. And if you don't want to be vaccinated, you will not be vaccinated. Other than that, everybody that resides within the boundaries of St. Martin, that side, will be vaccinated. Did I answer your question?
Can I ask a clarification, Charity?
Go ahead.
Yes, real quickly.
My clarification, so that means that that someone without a St. Martin form of identification can still get the vaccine in St. Martin.
As long they live on St. Martin, and St. Martin is their residence, they will get vaccinated.
How?
You wasn't there last time, so I'll tell you. If somebody comes here and stay as a tourist, or like they say, overwintering for 3 or 6 months, no, the residency is where they come from, where they really live, because all nations are calculating it themselves. Here in St. Martin, we are calculating all that are living on the territory on St. Martin. What they say in civil law, you're doing your private life, you do it here. Am I clear?
So that means undocumented immigrants will not be applicable for the vaccine, correct?
No, this issue has been dropped. Everybody, when I say everybody, we don't make no distinction. If you got documents to be here, you're born here or not. As long as you live here, this is your place of living, residing, you will be vaccinated and you will be counted in.
And now in other news, Director of PAHO, the Pan American Health Organization, Dr. Carissa Etienne, speaking at their press briefing yesterday, Wednesday, February the 3rd, about how COVID is affecting the Caribbean and Latin American countries. The director gave an update on the amount of COVID-19 cases in the Americas. Dr. Etienne divulged that over 1.8 million people became sick with COVID-19 and more than 47,000 has died as a result. The director said that it is extraordinary that this time last year, the first cases of COVID-19 were being reported in Latin America. 12 months later, the virus has left no country untouched.
Last week, over 1.8 million people in the Americas became sick with COVID-19, and more than 47,000 died as a result. It's extraordinary that this time last year, the first cases of COVID-19 were being reported in Latin America. 12 months later, the virus has left no country untouched. In North America, after weeks of unrelenting rise, COVID-19 infections are finally decreasing in the United States and Canada. While in Mexico, cases and deaths continue to increase, particularly in the states that attracted significant tourism during the holiday season, like Guerrero, Quintana Roo, Nayarit, and Baja California del Sur. In Central America, Guatemala and Honduras are continuing to report a rise in COVID-19 infections. Across the Caribbean, most nations are seeing a reprieve in COVID-19 infections, although larger islands like the Dominican Republic, Haiti, Puerto Rico, and Cuba continue to drive new infections. This week, St. Lucia and Barbados reported the highest increase in cases, and as a result, St. Lucia has implemented a 10-day ban on non-essential activities and social gatherings. Nearly every country in South America has reported a rise in COVID-19 infections over the last week. Colombia continues to report the highest incidence in cases, followed by Brazil, which is still seeing exponential increases in both cases and deaths in the city of Manaus. Today, we're seeing that cities, provinces, and countries that had previously managed to control COVID-19 outbreaks are seeing a sometimes devastating resurgence in cases in our region and beyond. This should serve as a lesson that keeping the virus at bay is not a one-time effort, but a constant commitment while transmission is still active. And this is especially true as 3 new variants of concern of SARS-CoV-2 virus, which are raising questions about possible heightened transmissibility of COVID-19, have been detected in 20 countries in the Americas. However, their frequency is still limited. We know that might change over a few weeks or months. While any one of us could become infected with the virus, we've seen time and again how the virus preys on persistent inequalities in access to healthcare and across gender, race, and income divides.
And now, as we continue in news out of French Saint Martin, President of the Collectivité, Mr. Daniel Gibbs, and President of St. Bart's, Bruno Magras, had requested the lifting of the compelling reasons for traveling to Saint Martin and Saint Bartholomew. The two presidents co-signed a letter on Wednesday, February the 3rd, which was addressed to the Minister of Overseas, Sébastien Lecornu, asking for the immediate lifting of the new travel restrictions. President Gibbs delivered the letter by hand to Sébastien Lecornu earlier today, Thursday, February the 4th, during his meeting with the minister. President Gibbs was able to speak out of the urgency of lifting these restrictions for our islands. The new health restrictions put in place by the government now impose a compelling reason for travel between Saint Martin and Saint Bartholomew, but also from the metropolis and to other overseas territories. The two presidents indicated with one voice that the health situation of the Northern Islands does not justify such a measure. The hospital capacities are absolutely not under a strain, recalling that this zero-risk strategy is not tenable. In our tourist islands, which are currently in high season, and even though it is very likely that this crisis will continue and that the problem of variant viruses will remain the same in a few months. The two presidents therefore fear that this isolation measure will drag on and put a stop to their economies. They are asking the government to reconsider the situation in the Northern Islands and to restore the previous health protocol, asking visitors to observe a 7-day prophylactic isolation followed by a PCR test. The two presidents indicated in their joint letter that they are hoping that the appeal of the Northern Islands will be heard as soon as possible. While tourism is the engine of our economy and there are 2 months of high season, it is for the sustainability of our businesses, some of which will not recover if these new restrictions were to continue, the release reads in part. Now, turning to our weather forecast for February the 4th, 2021. Instability due to a low-level trough combined with a moist southeasterly wind flow will result in the increased chances of showers during this forecast period. Meanwhile, a slackened Atlantic high-pressure gradient will generate light to moderate winds. Moderate to rough seas are predicted to persist for the next few days. Seas up to 10 feet can be expected. Consequently, the small craft advisory and high surf advisory will remain in effect for St. Martin until further notice. Small craft operators and sea bathers should continue to exercise extreme caution. So the outlook through Saturday midday, partly cloudy and breezy with isolated showers possible. Now, let's turn to your 3-day forecast. And still to come, GEBE will be resuming its monthly standard course of action to collect outstanding funds. I'll have the details of that story when SXM Daily News returns.
The innovative Banco Matico contactless smart card. Your Banco Matico smart card is now equipped with a contactless feature for payments, so get ready to tap and go. Contactless payments are fast, easy, secure, and accepted worldwide at all Maestro-enabled contactless terminals. Tap for transactions equivalent to or less than 100 NAF, or the US dollar equivalent. You will receive notifications via email anytime you tap. Tap, tap, and pay fast. Fast with WIB. For more information, visit our website at wib-bank.net. Tap and go with your partner in progress.
Welcome back, viewers. And as we continue now with this COVID-19 update, as of February the 3rd, there were 14 persons who tested positive for COVID-19. However, 22 persons have recovered, bringing the total active cases to 140. The total number of confirmed cases is now 1,899. The Collective Prevention Services, CPS, are monitoring 139 people in home isolation. One patient remains hospitalized at the St. Martin Medical Center. The total number of deaths due to COVID-19 remains at 27. The number of people recovered since the first case surfaced on St. Martin has increased to 1,732. 199 people are in quarantine based on contact tracing investigations carried out by CPS. The Ministry of Public Health, Social Development and Labor, VSA, the Airport Health Team, in collaboration with the Healthcare Laboratory St. Martin, HCLS, have tested 2,379 travelers arriving at the Princess Juliana International Airport, while CPS has tested 14,399 people throughout the community. As the numbers continue to fluctuate, CPS will continue to actively execute its contact tracing measures. Please stay at home if you are experiencing flu-like symptoms and call your general practitioner, Minister of Health Richard Parneflex stated. And as we end this edition of SXM Daily News for this evening, viewers, NVGEBE has announced that after months of suspended disconnection of its electricity and water services, the company will be resuming its monthly standard course of action to collect outstanding funds. Speaking to SXM Daily News News Department, Corporate Communications Officer Paula Gordon expounded further.
After months of suspended disconnection of our electricity and water services, GB will be resuming its monthly standard course of action to collect outstanding funds. During the early part of 2020 and several times after that, we halted the disconnection of services to allow the financial recovery of customers who were experiencing economic difficulties due to the effects of the COVID pandemic. Dr. Shireen Daniel, our interim managing director, stated that this is an issue where there are no easy answers and disconnection is always a last resort. Further stated that a 2-month window of opportunity to enter into a payment arrangement for outstanding bills was granted to all customers last year, and NVGB had honored each request. We fully recognize that the pandemic continues to be a time of hardship for many. However, there are many customers who have not made the attempt to take advantage of the opportunity to set up a payment plan or to make any payment arrangements. Presently, the receivables of NVGB has increased significantly, and although NVGB understands the financial hardship experiencing, all efforts must be made to collect funds. Our customer care staff continues to make calls to person in arrears, but payments or not even a commitment to pay are forthcoming.
And with that, viewers, it brings us to the end of this edition of SXM Daily News for this evening. I am Valerie Van Putten, thanking you so much for joining me this evening. And as usual, want to remind you that this and other programs are available online. Simply log on to stmartinmediacenter.com for viewing. And on behalf of the SXM Daily News team, we thank you so much for watching and plan on meeting you right back here again tomorrow.